Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today, our guest is going to be Tonia Holmes-Sutton. She is a candidate for University Board of Higher Education, which is University Board of Regent District number 4. But before we get to Miss Holmes-Sutton, or do you prefer Miss Sutton?
It's Dr. Holmes-Sutton, but you may call me Tonia.
My bad. Dr. Holmes-Sutton. Jim, you have any? Oh, Jim, welcome back, baby. How you been?
Well, I've been okay, I guess. I can't complain.
I'm sure you can.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, you know my attitude on that though is like, there's always something to complain about. But see, I think that's part of the problem today. Everybody's looking about what to complain about instead of being happy for what they got. So I think
that's a problem with a lot of people. They're not. They kind of forget what they have.
Right. Exactly. 100%.
And they bitch about the little things.
Yep.
You know. But they don't look at the big picture for some reason.
Well, when people ask me that question, I always go, well, let's see. I got a home, so I got a roof over my head. I'm full right now, so I have food in my stomach. Mm-hmm. I'm here with 3 great people. I got 2 brothers that love me. I got an extended family that loves me. I got probably the best friend any person could ever have. So can't get any better than that.
So you're doing good.
Doing good.
Well, I went to that retreat this weekend, ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And the Native Americans, they do it, and the Central Americans, they do it. They even do it in Colombia, Peru, Central El Salvador, Costa Rica. They do it all those places. But I did it this weekend, and it has been a very eye-opening experience.
Oh.
And the way ayahuasca works, you're supposed to face your demons, face your fears, have clarity, understanding in your life. Yeah. I mean, there's always several different ways to approach something. You could approach it with anger, or you could approach it with empathy.
Right.
And your words and how you say it and the tone you say it in means a lot, especially to the person that's receiving it, And what I've learned, I'm a yeller, right? By nature.
Yeah.
And I guess it's from the Marine Corps, because, they teach you how to yell. They kind of perfect yelling.
I've heard you raise your tone a few times here or there.
But Jim, for the life of me, I have no motivation to yell at anybody. I just don't feel like yelling.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assertive,
right? Yeah.
But I don't have to yell. And I remember something Heidi told me. She says that people yell to intimidate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They yell to intimidate.
Right.
And she goes, you don't need to yell.
No, you don't.
She goes, go look at yourself.
Right.
You already looking like a whole lot of intimidation.
Yeah. She's got a good point there.
Your face, your build is all intimidating.
Yeah.
You do not need to ever, she was like, ever raise your voice.
Oh, she used the Long Island accent on you too?
She
was serious then.
So, and that resonated.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed with me since I came back on Sunday, because I wasn't doing it when I was there. I think the last time I yelled at somebody was actually the day before I went into ayahuasca, which was a Thursday.
Right.
I don't yell. People cut me off on the road, and I just it's just wasted energy.
It is. It is wasted energy.
When I could be taking my energy and use it for good, or use it for something positive, and what I've also learned, when somebody is attacking me verbally, especially if I feel that it's not deserved.
Right. Yeah.
I just mentally take myself away from it and don't even engage.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw myself do it yesterday, actually, and didn't even engage. And what I did was I backed away, hardly say anything, because the aggressor wants you to say something so they can use your words against you, right? So if you stay mute, they have nothing to use. Yep. So I just said the minimum, and I just took myself away from the hostility, so to speak. Yeah. And then what I also did, I drove away from it enough, and then I went in my phone and I just blocked that individual. Yeah. Because I just don't need that in my life anymore.
Right.
The negative. There's always a way to talk to somebody without yelling and without belittling them and without blaming them. Yeah. People like the aggressor likes to blame. Blah, blah, blah. You did this, you did that, you did this. And look at me. I am just innocent of all charges.
All right.
And that's how the aggressors are. So, and I've learned that this weekend. And I'm just surprised of myself. Yeah. The way I have been acting towards these things in my life, right? Yeah. That would have made me normal. The normal Steve Sanson would have been the aggressor as well.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Would have been like, I felt like my ego is being challenged. But I don't feel like my ego is being challenged because I know me. No. I know myself. I know what I'm capable of. I know what I've done in my life. And I just know me. And I'm content with me.
Yeah. Good.
So I don't need to engage on a negative, immature behavior to be on that level of that same person, because I believe that my self-esteem is higher than that. Yeah. Although a person might have some type of ill will or something bad happen to them that day, but I should not be a whipping post.
No.
Nor should I even, leave myself out there to be a whipping post. So I just remove myself. And I'm proud of myself for doing that.
Yeah, that's it's a big step. It's a big step, and it'll help you a lot, because the majority of the time I've always found the same thing too. The aggressor, or the one that likes to raise the tone of voice or whatever, 90% of the time they're just trying to elicit a response out of you to make you look like the bad guy. So you could be 100% in the right, but if you're the one that, it's kind of like a police officer comes up and I just punched you in the mouth, but they didn't see that. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they roll by and you got me on the ground, pounding me into the ground. Now, I'm actually the one to blame. I'm the one that initiated it, but they don't see that.
So I'm the bad guy.
So you're the bad guy. So that's kind of the way I look at it when people start getting all loud and trying to wreak havoc or whatever. I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna go there, because you're in the wrong on this, not me. I'm not gonna look like the bad guy. Plus, like you said, it's a waste of your energy. Right. Use your energy on something good, because all anger is wasted energy for the majority of the time. As long as you're still, like you said, but you made a very good point that people need to understand now. Okay, by staying calm and not raising your voice and not being the aggressor, that doesn't mean that you let people like walk all over you, or you just hold all that inside, because that's actually worse. Mm-hmm. You still stand up for yourself. You still stand up for your beliefs and what you believe in. Mm-hmm. It's just not necessary to be overly aggressive about it.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Like, as long as you're still being aggressive.
I always tell people to know their audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when you know your audience, what happened? Did our guest is walking away? We have water for you. You good?
Yeah, I think my asthma may be active up.
Oh, we never had that before in a live show. Are you okay, Miss Sutton? Dr. Sutton? Dr. Sutton.
Don't make me laugh.
Is that a doctor of education or a doctor of medicine?
It is a doctorate of education.
Education, very good. Do we have a tissue for her? You know, we should have a Kleenex in here or something. But all right. Well, that's all I wanted to say about that. You know, I did purge the first night at this ayahuasca, and the way I purged, like I was throwing up for like 10, 15 seconds at a time, 3 times. And I also double purged because I did a poo-poo at the same time. You believe that? And you know, I'm not embarrassed to say it.
No, because it's purging. It's a cleansing.
Because
Because it's toxins.
Yeah.
And you're getting toxins out of your body.
I felt like, Jim, that I was in an Exorcist movie and some demons were just crawling out of my mouth because I opened up my mouth as big as I could open. I wasn't doing it intentionally. It just happened that way.
It's interesting because Will Smith said he had a very similar experience when he did it.
And it's like, and I felt lighter. Before I went to ayahuasca, I felt like my heart was in a vice, and it was just being pressured, right? And then after ayahuasca, I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like lighter. I feel like the pressure is off.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not in pain, so I don't have to respond with a higher tone like I used to.
Yeah.
So I hope that what I'm sharing helps people, but you got to be a brave soul to go through the ayahuasca. Let me tell you.
I've heard it's not for the. It's not for everybody.
Weak-minded.
Weak-minded. That's that. Yeah. Thank you. You got where I was going with that.
So we have Tonia Holmes-Sutton, Dr. Tonia Holmes-Sutton. Are you ready for us, Doc?
So sorry.
No, you're okay.
Does someone have a pet?
No, these are all brand new furniture.
Okay.
And there was no pets in here. Long time ago, we had Jeffrey Lustig who brought his dog, but we changed up since. And he was the first show in here. That was
I
what?
appreciate you.
That was about 3 months ago, right? Yeah, that was about 3 months ago.
Be about right.
Yeah, but since then, no pet. Now that was a little doggy. Are you allergic
Highly.
to?
Like 34 different grasses, trees, pet danders, highly allergic to cats and dogs, even if people just have dander.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because we don't have pets.
I have pets.
Well,
though.
that lets me like kind of loose off.
But this couch is brand new. No pets has been on it.
I appreciate it.
Dr. Sutton. Dr. Sutton.
Please excuse me.
Are you able to continue?
I am. I'm
Good. You good?
pulling it together.
You want some water? Okay.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Ma'am, could you tell us about yourself?
I think I've shared before that I'm a former military dependent.
Okay.
My father was in target intelligence in the Air Force.
Okay.
So I grew up in the military.
Aim high, baby.
Traveled very often, had an incredible life experience, which certainly everyone should have some sort of exposure to. But I am a national board certified teacher. That is the highest certification that you can get in the country for teaching. And I now support teachers through that process as a coach and mentor, but also as an advocate and a leader.
Okay. Go ahead. Married, 5 kids.
I don't have
Like
5
waffles?
children.
Like waffles. I do blueberry.
My husband is very, very supportive of my work. He used to be in the Army,
Okay.
in infantry.
Oh yeah. Is that how they do it? Yeah.
I don't know how they do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think they do that.
And I have one daughter
Uh-huh.
who just recently graduated from UNLV.
Oh,
She
congratulations.
Thank you. She attended College of Southern Nevada
Okay.
and got a communications degree, and then UNLV for another BA in communication studies. And then in December, she just recently earned her master's in marriage and family therapy.
Ah, I love those MFTs.
She is amazing. She made a good choice. She made an excellent choice. So she has also supported me in my leadership.
Okay.
Most people do not believe that I am an introvert, but I am an incredible introvert. You show up and serve and lead as you need to.
I hear an echo. You hear an echo a little bit? Okay.
And use this as an opportunity to lead in responsibility. I am from a family of educators. My family is from Memphis, Tennessee, from the South. And I, in my responsibility, have considered my roots, our legacy. We started the first school for the Black community in the late 1800s in partnership with Tuskegee University and Julius Rosenwald, who was the founder of Sears, Roebuck and Company.
Oh, yeah. Sears is not around anymore.
It is not around anymore.
Kmart's gone too.
Leaving. But they partnered together with schools in the South in order to establish a number of schools in the community to be able to serve children and families. And my family has one of those historic schools. And so I've committed to serving in leadership and excellence, doing what is needed, doing what is right, and have served previously as the board trustee for the National Teachers Hall of Fame and also Nevada State Board of Education. I am now the chair for the Charter School Authority Board, and also working with the board of directors out of San Francisco, West Ed, in policy and research, and also a board director with National Board for Professional Teaching Standards.
Where is District 4?
District 4 is East Las Vegas. So,
Sunrise Mountain?
Sunrise Mountain. I am not far from the Air Force Base.
Okay.
And in that community, and have had an incredible time in the heat, being out canvassing, but had the privilege, the blessing to be able to lead in the primary. And I will now be advancing to the general election in November.
Okay. And this is a nonpartisan seat, right?
It is a nonpartisan seat. Yes, it is.
Tell me about your degrees.
I went to Hawaii Low College for my undergrad degree.
Okay.
I did not want to get lost as a number at a large university or college. And so that was a small community that I joined. And I got my undergrad degree there, my bachelor's in social sciences. And kind of fell in love with psychology. So got that as a minor. And then ended up traveling, as we say, back to the mainland. And being in Florida for a period of time.
From where did you travel back to?
From Hawaii.
From Hawaii.
Yes, Kaneohe, Hawaii. It was Hawaii.
Very
Low
expensive
College.
out there.
One of the reasons I had to leave.
Yeah. Everything is imported, huh? Yeah.
Most things, yes.
Except for pineapples, probably.
You know, Dole's headquarters is out there.
Yeah.
But yes.
Little
came
trivia for you.
back and landed here in Las Vegas. My parents were here, having recently retired. My father decided to make Las Vegas home.
You like the roasted pig?
I am allergic.
No, you don't say.
I am allergic to beef, pork, dairy, eggs, soy. Yes, I
What a
have
cheap date this one would be.
allergies.
Take her to Zupa's.
So
Get anything on the menu.
love
So what did you do at the luau's then? You couldn't eat? You just kind of
I
walked around and
danced.
talked? You danced? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Do you know The Rock?
Do I know The Rock?
Yeah. He loves luau's.
Yeah.
I've not met The Rock. Met a lot of famous people, but not The Rock.
But not the rock.
Not The Rock.
All right, please continue with your education.
Came here
Okay.
because I wanted my daughter to have a very close-knit relationship with my parents. Because we traveled a lot, I didn't see my grandparents as often. I was crazy about them, but didn't get an opportunity to spend as much time with them as I would have liked to. And I wanted that for my daughter. So as I came here, I went to UNLV, and under the Urban Teaching Partnership, which was a 3-year grant at that time, I was able to get a certification to be a teacher. But that was a unusual experience, which we should promote more of, because I had an opportunity to be both on the school campus and at the college campus for extended period of times. So I didn't do a 6-week student training. I actually had the opportunity to see the school open, be there the entire year, see the school close, while also doing my studies at UNLV. And then CCSD was offering a master's degree. So I had to go back.
You had to.
More immediately. So within my first year of teaching, I returned to UNLV, and I got a master's in special education and in early childhood.
And your doctorate?
And my doctorate came a while later. My girl was overwhelmed. I had a young family at that time, and she said, "Can't you just take a break?"
Right.
I said, "I probably should." And yet, teachers are challenged in being able to live comfortably. So I was certainly seeking to get additional credits so that I could also be compensated for those. But it was in pursuing national board certification that I knew that I needed to step forward even more and utilize the gifts that I had been given. And as I was completing national board certification, there was an opportunity to apply to be part of a cohort, which is what I appreciated very much, to be part of a cohort at UNLV. And achieved my doctorate of education and educational leadership.
Let me ask you something. How important it is for a member of, and we're going to use the exact term, a Nevada system of higher education, Board of Regents, higher education. I mean, those are the key words, right? How important it is for somebody to be have a college degree to sit on that board.
I certainly think it's an asset and a benefit for people to have had that experience, and certainly to understand and be able to relate to the students that they would be serving and the constituency in terms of the professors, the administration, presidents. I also acknowledge that likewise, the board itself in service and collaboration with one another, but also collaborating with the community and serving as that model for them and engaging with them. We know that not a lot of people have always had the opportunity, access, equity to be able to pursue a degree. And so having people on the board who have those degrees and who can model and who can support and who can advocate for that opportunity in the way of equity and access is exceptionally important.
Okay, so real quick, I wanted to, because there's something, I think this question I was going to ask kind of ties in. This is why I want to ask this now. I understand, and I know we asked that question, Steve, and I agree with your position on that 100%. I think it should be mandatory. I don't see how you sit on that board and not have a degree. I don't get that. But one of the things, and like you were talking about the opportunity to be able to pursue higher education. One of the things that I was wondering, and I asked this question years ago, and it seems like no one's been able to really spearhead anything to do with this, is, so little story about myself. So I was going to take a year off, but because I needed to save up some money because I was going to go to a junior college. See, I had this dream. I was going to be an NFL football player. I could have been smart, went to Division III school because I had the grades to do it and went that route. But me being hard-headed, I decided I was going to go to a junior college. But I needed to take a year off to save up the money. But I wanted to get some credits while I was at it. I figured I'm not going to waste all my time. So at that time, it was CCSN. So I decided, hey, I'm going to go CCSN, get these credits. They said, okay, before you do that, though, you have to take a math test and you have to take an English test to see your proficiency level, right? Well, I got straight A's in math all through high school, got straight A's in English all through high school. So I'm like, phew, I'm golden. This is easy. When I took that English proficiency test, after I got done, you know what I got placed in? English 90. The lady looked at me and said, I'm sorry, young man, but you don't even know how to form a simple sentence. Like, this is pretty scary. So the reason why I bring that up is I'm like, I wasn't trying to enter Harvard. I was trying to enter community college. But yet somehow I skate through and get straight A's in English through high school. Like, something seems amiss there. Like, there's no way I should have been getting A's. So what I've always wondered is then why is it that there seems to be a disconnect between the college system and the K through 12 system? Like, the K through 12 system isn't doing their part to get them ready for the higher education part. What I would like to see is some sort of collaboration or partnership between the two. So that's why I like the idea of students in high school being able to, that are advanced, being able to attend and get college credits, because then it's kind of combining the two, right? So what do you think can be done to kind of try, or if anything can be done to try to get more communication from the K through 12 part of it into the higher education part of it, so we don't have kids like myself being told, hey, yeah, you're great at English, don't worry about it, you got this, and then obviously I didn't. So there's a disconnect there. And one of the main reasons why I bring that up is one of the things that we always hear, why a lot of these high-tech companies and things of that nature won't come to the state of Nevada, is because we don't have the educational base to support the talent that they need. So what could you do with because you have one of your partners here, also, what could you guys do to kind of work with the Carter County School District to see, like, to bridge that gap?
And I think some things are being done to bridge the gap. Yeah. I'll acknowledge that my daughter had the opportunity to do exactly what you were talking about, right? Take some classes and be able to take college courses at the same time. She went to the College of Southern Nevada High School and was able to earn her associate's degree while also attending high school classes. And so that opportunity is not necessarily afforded to all those who should have access to that. We happened to find out about that because one of the clerks in my elementary school was saying, hey, here's a program that your daughter might be interested in. I know she was having some challenges at her local school and really was looking to be perhaps with students who were setting similar goals. But I think also the dual credit classes that are being extended to more students and being extended to more schools in Clark County will also be helpful. And the legislation recently that Assemblywoman Mosca led and that passed specifically around ensuring that students have an opportunity to be college and career ready. And so that you're taking those classes that you need to ensure that as you make that transition, should that be your choice, whether it's college, career, community, you are well prepared for that. That hasn't always been the case. It used to be a number of different diplomas that could be had in Clark County School District, but the Nevada State Board of Education has streamlined that, certainly. And now this recent advocacy in the last legislative session has provided an opportunity where we should see changes that persist so that students have those opportunities afforded to them.
Okay, what about trade schools though? not just the college part of it, because there are certain people that I know a lot of people that are watching this or will see the recording and know me are probably gonna be like, yeah, okay, whatever, Joe. I actually was one of those kids. I enjoyed school. I really did. I liked going to school. I loved school. I loved learning. But not everybody's like that. That was always my goal, is to go to college. But there's some kids that literally after high school, they're like, I don't want to deal with school anymore. But, we need plumbers. We need electricians. We need trades. We're really short in those. So what about that? Is there a way that could maybe do something with trade schools off that similar concept as well?
noting that there are those opportunities that exist, but again, are not afforded to all of the students.
Right.
And to your point, everyone is not deciding that college is the choice for them.
Right.
And I should say, we're all lifelong learners, regardless of what that looks like.
Yeah.
Whether that's college, whether that's trade, career, whether that's becoming, engaging in community leadership and advocacy. And so more opportunities need to be afforded to students to be able to pursue and explore career options for themselves in the way of trade. And that's something that we have to advocate for. We acknowledge that certainly in the college and career, the technical career schools, that students are having those opportunities. We recently had an opportunity, my colleagues and I, as I was working as the executive director for Teach Plus Nevada, to host focus groups and interviews with students who had recently graduated from high school, and some who had graduated 5 years ago, some who graduated within the span of 10 years ago. What we discovered as we were engaging with the students is there was a high school student who was going to be able to come immediately out of high school and be hired in the doctor's office. And as she was doing that, we were having a conversation with someone who was 32 who said they hadn't been afforded those opportunities. And so she had expended a number of years and money trying to find that opportunity.
Right.
And here we are looking at an 18-year-old and a 32-year-old who are looking at the same opportunity.
Yeah.
And this 32-year-old wishing she had an opportunity to explore career and to develop a skill set that would have allowed her to begin to build her life's choice and to thrive in that.
Yeah, because then she could have been, more career ready earlier. Yeah. Unfortunately, but, that's unfortunate for the 32-year-old, but it's fortunate that we're actually moving past that point as to where hopefully that example of that 32-year-old, those examples are going to get further and further apart where we won't have as many of that anymore.
We definitely have to make sure that there's more opportunities that are available.
Right, correct.
Because at present, we know that those opportunities don't persist for everyone, for all of the students, for all of our students. And to your point, we are having significant challenges ensuring that students are well prepared as they graduate.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry, Steve. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it just seemed like a good segue there.
Back to my original question, Dr. Holmes-Sutton. If somebody was sitting on the board that is in high school, college dropout, no degree, and everybody else, or majority of the folks there had their doctorate or had a minimum of a bachelor's degree, how would you look at that person that was a college dropout that's sitting on the board? What would go through your mind?
First, what would go through my mind was not to judge.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, to have honor and respect for life experiences. Mm-hmm. And then for us to probably dialogue around why is it that certain career choices compel and demand that you must have a degree, mm-hmm. and that this leadership responsibility does not. And so to engage in that conversation around mm-hmm. what should be the requirement as you persist.
Would you be willing to change the requirements?
If that were within my purview, yes, I would be willing to advocate for that.
And why would you?
We need to ensure that those that are serving on the board have the leadership experience, the educational experience, the knowledge and skill set and mm-hmm. disposition to be able to advocate for the college opportunities, the experiences that we're wanting our youth learners. So I shouldn't just say youth. Let me clarify. Learners should have an opportunity to pursue.
So let me ask you this. When you was applying for this position, mm-hmm. What was going through your mind? And has it changed from when you first applied until now?
I think in terms of what I initially was thinking was that I have a responsibility. As I mentioned about being an introvert, I would say that it is compelling, right, to kind of stand back. But one, not only a responsibility in terms of gifts and opportunities. And I said, right, I would leverage my experience in the various boards that I serve on and in the various rooms that I am in to serve in this capacity as a board regent. But acknowledging the only way in which that has changed is that I am even more committed in persisting and in working hard to ensure that I increase my visibility, that I share the message, that I educate people about what the Board of Regents is in terms of overseeing the colleges, the universities, and the research institutes in the state, but also acknowledging that we can't always change from the outside. We have to enter inside the circle as well. And so it is there inside the circle that I choose to be in order to influence, inform, and have impact in the best way that I'm able to do so. In collaboration with colleagues, right? I acknowledge that nothing is of my own volition. I am not joining the board and then exacting any direction, if you would. But certainly I would hope that I would be able to lend my voice to the collective for collective impact and acknowledging it's important. As I'm saying to my girl, as I'm saying to my students, as I have said to my students, I have to step forward in that responsibility as well.
So Dr. Holmes-Sutton, why this seat? Why not a legislative seat or maybe school board trustee seat or maybe a city council seat? Why University Board of Regents?
I will say that I have not had a desire as a goal to be a legislator or a council person, and certainly acknowledging that the school board the board of trustees for CCSD oversees, right, Clark County School District. I specifically am stepping into this space having gone. Oh,
could I help?
Yes.
You actually make decisions that's going to encompass the entire state.
Yes. Stepping into that space, have the experience, have the opportunity to have been at college, been at university, have taught at UNLV. I am teaching a class at Nevada State College, and so wanting to utilize that to have impact in higher ed. Certainly acknowledge that I've utilized my leadership with my colleagues. And when I say my colleagues, I mean those that are educators serving in K-12, in the traditional school system, serving in the charter school system, serving as teacher leaders, supporting our colleagues that are in the classroom, and just really looking, again, as I mentioned, to leverage those opportunities that I've had both at the state level and at the national level to step into higher ed.
Is there a specific policy you would like to see amended or changed in any way?
I don't know that I've given thought to a specific policy per se. And I've thought more so around, again, stepping into the leadership and leading to the best of my capacity. And I will say, right, a lot of the things that I've done have not necessarily been Holmes-Sutton wants to step into a leadership role. It has typically been someone said, hey, Holmes-Sutton, do you know, it would really be great if you would utilize the experiences that you have to step here and here. I will acknowledge that that was initially what happened as I stepped outside of my classroom. I felt very strongly about the impact that I was having for students as a classroom teacher. And certainly acknowledge, right, some tensions that may persist as some colleagues think, like, why would you leave the classroom? I left the classroom to have an even greater impact.
That's what I was going to say. I didn't leave the classroom. The classroom left me.
No.
Or Dr. Sutton, can you do
Tonia
me a
is
favor?
fine.
Okay.
Yes.
With
Am
your
I missing it?
microphone? No, can you put it like on your shirt?
On my shirt?
In the middle
Okay.
here. Yeah. That way when it goes back and forth. It's my thing. I think it's causing an echo. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, not at all.
I didn't want to interrupt you in the middle. Sorry to do that. I apologize.
So
Yeah, you're
Is that
good.
better?
Yep.
Dr. Holmes-Sutton, there was a question I wanted to ask, and it just slipped my mind now. I think there was too much conversation going on in my.
I'm going to say you all can call me Tonia.
I got
Please.
this short-term memory thing, and the reason why I'm using that the way I'm using it is because when voters go to the voting booth, that I want them to remember your name, because you are indeed
I
the
appreciate
endorsed candidate for the
I
Joint
appreciate
Veterans.
you
So
very
I
much.
keep saying it over and over, so it could kind of drill in people's head.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
what was your favorite subject going through your educational journey?
I'd have to say English.
Okay. And why is that?
I love to write.
Okay.
I love to create.
Okay.
I acknowledge that things may be a little different in some classrooms now, right, in terms of structures and protocols. But I have been writing since I was like 6 years old, probably sooner than that. I used to take my father's letters, and I think to myself, appropriately or inappropriately, I didn't know what they said, but I would practice tracing. I would put a piece of paper over and trace over his handwriting.
So you practice cursive?
I practice cursive as
Which
well.
they don't teach now
they-
in
That's
in
my
school.
understanding. And yet, English, reading, writing gave me like a way to escape. Certainly, you may know, as a military dependent, it can be overwhelming to be moving and leaving your friends and leaving your family. Often, we moved every 2 years until we got to high school, and then we were in upstate New York in Plattsburgh in a small space that wasn't very diverse. And so writing and reading really comforted me, but it also empowered me. And so now I am utilizing that skill set that I've developed. And I've had an opportunity to have some chapter contributions to some books, writing for teachers.
So you authored some books?
Not books in their entirety on my own, but
You co-authored.
But co-authored. I've
Congrats.
co-authored some chapters and maybe working on a book now.
I have one going on now, Maneuvering Through the Family Court System, a self-help book. But I wanted to ask you, I want to ask you a question that's going to lead into my question that I've been thinking for the longest to ask you. But as a board member on the Regents, what do you feel that you're supposed to do to for the students that attend the colleges? What do you feel is your mission for these students in these colleges?
I feel strongly about equity and access, as I mentioned, right? Everyone not having an opportunity, which goes back to
equity and access,
the opportunities that we talk about that happen in K-12.
So that's one.
Dual credit, dual enrollment, if you will.
Education?
Yes.
Okay.
In high school, bridging that transition so that more students have an opportunity
so easy
to realize
transition
that they can.
from high school to college.
Facilitating that. And then also health and well-being. And I'm going to try not to be emotional again, because I think last time I got very emotional. We assume a lot of things about people all the time.
People always assume. I tell them it makes an ass out of you and me.
Always assuming. And we assume that because students have achieved or earned an opportunity to be at the college or university, that they're whole and they're well. The same way we assume that teachers are whole and well. And a lot of us have a lot of challenges.
You're talking about mental challenges?
I'm talking about mental challenges, physical challenges, financial challenges. Like, there are a lot of stressors in our lives. And
even spiritual challenges.
Spiritual challenges as well. I will acknowledge that. And as I think about those things, I think that it's been difficult, challenging for people to step forward to ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
to know where to ask for help, to know who would be willing to help, to not be stereotyped
Mm-hmm.
for asking and receiving that help. And would love to believe that all of our spaces are safe, but all of our spaces are not always as safe as we need them to be.
And that brings me to the big question. And I am sure that you're familiar with the shooting that took place at UNLV, and 3 college professors lost their lives. As a board member, you're also responsible for the safety of the students, the faculty, everybody that attends the school. What would you do to, I guess you can't really ensure, but what would you do to strengthen the safety of the schools that you're entrusted to be in charge of? What would you do? What policies would you put in place?
I feel strongly that we need to utilize and partner with community leaders whose expertise is safety.
Mm-hmm.
And
how would you encompass that into the school?
It's reach out and making the connections, right? And so my daughter and I had this conversation, not only when it happened, because she was headed to the campus and then immediately leaving the campus as things happened. So that's why I said I didn't want to become emotional. I acknowledge that her offices, because she also was serving as a grad assistant, leading as a grad assistant, was on the top floor of the student union. And they had just weeks previous had someone shoot through the window. And so that was overwhelming for me, right? Even more overwhelming to have her call me and to hear the emergency vehicles and her being overwhelmed and kind of in the midst of all of that traffic right there on Maryland Parkway. And if I may, a small digression as I provide some context. My girl had also been at the Boulevard Mall when that shooting had taken place and had sheltered in place in a storage room in the back of Old Navy. So this brought up a lot for us. And then October 1st, where we were supposed to be at the concert. So it
had anything to do with 9/11 too?
No. It's deep. And just acknowledging, right, 9/11 was the morning my first year as a teacher.
That was your first year as a teacher?
First year as a teacher. We'll never forget. And standing in the living room and watching the news and feeling overwhelmed. Will acknowledge that I am an empathetic leader, feel a lot of things very, very deeply. I mean, we all have connections, right, in so many different ways. But those have been significant events in our community that persist around safety. Right. What things could we have done? How could we have, done things differently or ensured greater safety, right? And I feel, again, as I said very strongly, the importance of connecting to proactively, right? This is reactive because we've had these situations, but those who are experts in this. And I think specifically about the police force. I know that they're overtasked, and yet we have to collaborate with one another, communicate with one another, connect with one another to ensure that we are looking at what measures can be put in place. I will acknowledge, not a safety expert, and have had an opportunity to bring police officers into the classroom and into the school to talk to the teachers, right, about safety. How are you exiting the school at night? Where are you parking? Are you ensuring that you're being, aware? And so not having that expertise, but having connection and community, that we can reach out and we can ensure that we look at things and have someone who people who are safety experts help us to assess and reassess. What does that look like? How often should we be doing that? How do we look to other states, other universities, other colleges outside of our space? What safety measures have they put in place? How successful have those been for them? Because certainly we never thought that this would happen. We couldn't have imagined that this would happen, and yet here we are. My family thinking about the 3 instances that have taken place and how they've touched us, how they touch us all. It is that even if we aren't immediately in the vicinity or impacted, we know someone who is. And I had teacher colleagues who were at the concert that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go. And then feeling overwhelmed and sitting at home, feeling guilty. Like I would have, had it not been for different choices.
Years ago, in the legislative session, former Assemblywoman Michelle Fury sponsored a bill, and it was called Campus Carry. And the reason she sponsored this bill was because a young lady came to her. I believe the young lady was going to UNR. And the young lady is a CCW carrier. But because of the rules, she couldn't carry on campus. So she left her weapon in the vehicle. And ultimately, she was raped on campus. Now, she said that if I had my weapon on me, because I was there watching the testimony that she gave, I wouldn't have been raped. So that's what initiated the Campus Carry bill. As a member of the school board of higher education, how do you feel about the Campus Carry bill, and how do you feel about students, faculty, professors protecting themselves against somebody that's going to create harm to them? And we all know 911 is not really fast. Sometimes 911 could take forever. And if I'm over here going to do harm to you right now, Dr. Sutton, is 911 going to save you?
I acknowledge that certainly we have challenges with regards to response times. Mm-hmm. And yet I stand convicted in acknowledging that open and concealed campus or carry on campus doesn't ensure that we're going to be safe. And my fear, even as I considered
You said your fear. What do you mean by that?
Fear. I was saying, even as I considered, right, when they talked about teachers being able to carry in K-12 schools, mm-hmm. is that guns will end up in the wrong hands, mm-hmm. and that it could have been that even as she was hoping to defend herself, she herself may have gotten shot or killed.
But there's a whole lot of ifs and buts out there, aren't there?
There are. And so my consideration goes then to what
happened if she would have just dissolved the assailant and never got raped because she had a weapon to defend herself?
I think there are other measures of safety and, if appropriate to say, weapons that can be utilized other than guns being carried on campus.
What would you suggest?
I immediately think of, and
pepper
I
spray.
know that, I'm not going to lie and say that isn't the thought, right? Like, my mind goes to pepper spray. My mind goes to tasers. My mind goes to what things can, I feel so inappropriate saying injure, but stop an assailant, prevent someone from persisting. And I say that having had a gun pulled on me 3 times. Oh. So I don't think that my having a gun would have prevented what happened to me. Mm-hmm. It it happened not only as an adult and most recently within the last 2.5 years, someone pulling up alongside of the car and putting a gun inside of the car, but also as a young child. People brandishing weapons with the intent to cause harm, even if there isn't a situation.
So if I tell you that in this state, I've been a CCW since 2003, and I have pulled my weapon out 0 times. I have been in about 4 bar fights or altercations and never once thought about pulling my weapon. So I guess it could be dependent on the mentality of the individual as well.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've had guns pulled out on me, but not while I was a CCW carrier. It might have went a whole different way.
Right.
But I've had guns pulled out on me before in the military and in foreign countries on leave. And while I was growing up in New York City, I can't tell you how many times I had weapons pulled on me. But when they pull knives on me, I kind of laugh at that. Because you can't run from a gun, but you could escape the decisions of a blade if you know what you're doing at times, or you get lucky, whichever comes first. But yeah. So you don't believe in campus carry is the bottom line.
I don't support campus carry.
Okay.
I definitely feel overwhelmed by that consideration.
You think it would eventually lead to something worse?
I do. I feel very strongly about how people are choosing to act first, if you will, and acknowledging with all honor and respect for students.
Yes.
Even students as they develop, right? We can be impulsive. And while the law allows us certain privileges, certain rights, we also have to be mindful, like, how we navigate that and manage that in certain communities. And the college community is not one in which I believe that everyone should be carrying. And
the Second Amendment stops here.
know that I have a great regard and respect and acknowledge, right, that I have members of my family who carry. My daughter's bow. I think I was quite surprised one day at lunch. I looked over and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a gun on his chest. How did I not see that? That's wild. Right? But also acknowledge that people have a right to defend themselves. We have a responsibility to ensure safety. How will we do everything that we can to navigate and manage that without creating circumstances that would have there be more loss?
Jim?
Okay. So I'm sorry to ask you this question right towards the end because it's kind of a long-winded one, but so here is something that has really, it's become even more and more prevalent over the years now, is for-profit universities competing with the public university system. Well, obviously this being the United States, for-profit universities do have a right to exist. However, one of the things and I'm not going to name the name of the university because don't want to go there, but one of the things that I have noticed that, because I'm not saying that these for-profit universities necessarily aren't providing the same level of education that the public universities, the UNLVs, the UNRs are providing. But the one thing that I have noticed, and I've been witness to this myself because I got a master's degree through a for-profit university. Okay. And I've had several friends that have finished up degrees through. What I'm trying to say, though, is these universities, number one, are extremely expensive. And and for whatever reason, they seem to be able to figure out a way to get you student loans. And these student loans, sometimes they're these places that are loaning the money or overloading money that you don't actually need. They just qualify you for. I'll give an example. My master's degree. They said, well, you can get another $15,000. I'm like, no, hold on. I just need enough to cover my tuition. Oh, but for living costs, I'm like, I have a job. So I don't, but a lot of people don't look at it that way. And then they're driving up these costs. But these for-profit universities, I personally believe, are taking advantage of them, people through, you can get your degree faster. You can expedite the process. So how is it that the public education system is dealing with these for-profit universities and to try to make sure that you're not losing individuals that would be better off in the public education system than these for-profit universities on the higher education scale, obviously? Because I think it's become, especially now that as the country is facing these enormous deficits and we're in this whole student loan forgiveness has become part of the national discussion now. Where do you think that the public education system, the higher level part of it, can not necessarily, I guess, recruit or make sure we're retaining these individuals instead of going through our K through 12 system and then immediately jumping into these for-profit universities?
I think it goes back to equity and access.
Right.
Because as you spoke, it certainly compelled me to think about, right, predatory loans.
Yes.
Taking advantage of and extending opportunities that they may not necessarily deliver on, as you noted.
Yeah.
And so how do we ensure equity, access, and communicate that, right? It's one thing to have it. It's another thing to ensure that people know about it and that you're recruiting and making available those opportunities so that students don't feel like these are their only opportunities.
Right.
I think in addressing the equity and access, we can ensure that students feel like they can pursue an opportunity at UNLV. Also ensuring that we extend opportunities to our learners and their families in knowing and being knowledgeable that there is the opportunity to attend College of Southern Nevada and have there be a seamless transfer to UNLV or UNR, Nevada State College, if that is what your desire is.
Right.
That is one of the things that we sat down as a family and considered. Certainly, right? We could apply immediately to UNLV, but we have to also be mindful of how are we making the most I want to choose my words carefully. Here is the pause. And certainly many words are running through my head. I want the choices that are best for us, right?
Yeah.
I will acknowledge that as I've been supporting students through the Nevada Promise Scholarship Program at CSN since 2017, since its inception with the legislation, that's a conversation we have, right? Like, you are here, and so how do you maximize your opportunities here? Leverage this to transition to another state college and/or, right, if the decision is to go out of state, how do we ensure that you're taking the caseload that you need?
Right.
How do we make sure that you have the classes that you need? Because at the end of the day, it's business.
Yeah.
And this is what I've said to family members, right?
Right.
Well, they'll take me even if I haven't finished high school. I appreciate that and acknowledge they're a business. They're there to make the dollars, to your point, right?
Right, yeah.
For profit. Yeah. We have to ensure that we are educating our learners, our families, our communities on the opportunities that are available to them and the ones that are most beneficial to them, that do not have them looking for other access points, if you will,
Right. Yeah.
that really don't benefit them in the long run or the short run.
Yeah.
Because I have had friends also who have said, well, they'll give us loans for this, this, and this. And eventually those have to be paid back. And so I think the question is, how do we hold businesses accountable?
Right. And one of the things that I do when people ask me about these certain for private universities, one of the things I say is I go, look, here's the thing. If you're already got a job, okay, and they're saying, well, you could be eligible to promote within the company, but these positions require you to have a bachelor's degree or maybe a master's degree. You're already in a job. You're already financially stable. Okay. And then, so if you want to reach out to another for-profit school at that point, okay, maybe that is a good access point. But if you're going to come out straight out of high school and go and pay and go, oh no, we can get you student loans. Well, I can tell you right now, $40,000 for a bachelor's degree is pretty high. And I'm not going to even say the quality is another thing. But that's one thing that I would like to see, though, is like just that. And me asking this question and actually forming it the way I am is probably going to surprise a lot of people, because I am very I'm very pro capitalism and all that. And I'm not saying I'm still not, but I do think that these for profit, it comes down to the predatory loan things, really, because if honestly the amount of student loan debt that I piled up going through a for-profit school could have probably been cut, and I'd probably have had a third of the debt. So I was just wondering how you guys were going to kind of compete with this, because it seems all nice and fancy. Complete a master's degree in 2 years. Well, I got a bachelor's degree. I got a master's degree. You got a doctorate degree. We understand the length of time it truly takes to get those degrees. And I'm highly skeptical that a 2-year, and that's including people that don't have bachelor's degrees already, somehow they're going to get a master's degree in 2 years. Coming straight from a high school diploma. Yeah.
I will say to you, right, how you make your plan matters. I am guilty for not having initially reached out to my advisor, but in taking advantage of the master's program, the master's degree that was being offered by CCSD, it was like, how do I move forward before the money isn't there? And so I doubled down and I finished that program in 18 months because I was afraid the money was going to disappear.
Oh yeah, you can do it. I mean, I didn't sleep for about 18 months to get my master's.
I mean, that's what happens, right? Yeah, you don't sleep. That's the truth of it.
Right.
So Dr. Holmes-Sutton, these veterans that did their time in the military, and some do 4 years, some do 8 years, some do 12 years, some do 20 years, some do 25 years. Do you think they probably have a whole slew of different military occupational specialty at MOS. Do you think that their time in the military should convert into college credits?
I think there are opportunities for that to happen.
There is?
I think we have a responsibility to support our veterans who have supported us and supported our country.
Is that happening now?
I don't know that is happening now. I know, as the question was asked about the for-profit, right, there were opportunities where you can get credit for work experience.
Oh, right. CLEP classes.
And have that be acknowledged. I will say to you honestly, I don't know. And that would be something that I would need to look into.
Could you make that one of your focus points to make sure that
something that
military personnel could take their military experience and transfer that into college credits?
I can say that I can take an opportunity and have a conversation around how that could happen, right? Again, I acknowledge I am one person. But as that one person, to whom do I ask questions, and how do we begin to explore opportunities to ensure that we're supporting?
And how do we make that policy?
community.
And I think that's the key word I'm looking for, is to turning that into an actual policy instead of people just talking about it, make it actually happen. Like moving the embassy to Jerusalem, all these presidents talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And I got tired of everybody talking about it, but one person actually did it. And that's the person I want to give my respect to, the one that actually doers.
Yeah,
so
we have to look
could
at
you be that doer for us on the board of
It would have to
university?
be that, right? We look at, there would have to be policy, because it would have to be, what is it that we are measuring? What is it that we're saying would count? So that transition could be for everyone again, and so that it would be equitable, not that it happens for one and not for another, or for
no, it should be a policy across the board for all veterans.
Taking a look at what that looks like.
Yeah, because I think that would be great, because this ties in it perfectly, Steve, with when I went to this for-profit university I'm talking about. One of the things that they did too was they were gobbling up, like in most of my classes, I would say 90% of my class were all Air Force. They were all, most of them would come in their battle dress uniforms, because they were just coming straight from work.
See, the Air Force could get away with that. The Marines, you can't wear that uniform.
Yeah, they would just come straight. But the reason why I'm saying it is because they would do that, but it was chewing up their VA loans though, because they didn't lower the cost for veterans. They just wanted that all VA benefits, okay, and they'd chew through those things like crazy. So that would be something too that tie in to kind of protect the veterans too, so they're not eating up their VA benefits as quickly.
To graduate.
Yeah.
Do
you hear that, Dr. Holmes-Sutton? Don't eat up the VA benefits now.
We're not trying to eat up the VA benefits. That's the piece, right? Ensuring that we're providing the supports that are necessary for people to be successful. It's one thing to get into college, it's another thing to graduate.
Right.
And so we have to be having the conversations around not just college going rates, but graduation rates.
That brings me to this thing in my head when you said that. There's one thing about getting arrested, and there's another thing about being convicted. And some people can't decipher between the two. You got arrested, you got to be guilty. No, when you're convicted, that's when you're guilty. But Jim, do you have anything else for Dr. Holmes?
No, actually, I don't. What I would like to say is I want to thank you for coming on. I also want to congratulate you for being endorsed. You did very good in your endorsement interview process. It's not the easiest thing to do. It can be, it's kind of nerve-wracking. I want to also congratulate you on being willing to run for office. Obviously, it's obvious you have the credentials to do the job that you're seeking. That's more than obvious. But also, I want to congratulate you on, it's very difficult I don't think a lot of people understand how difficult it is for an introvert, a true introvert, someone who admits to being an introvert, to be able to run for public office, because that's not really something most introverts would do. And number two, you're gonna be a member of a board, so you're not gonna be the lone voice. So you're gonna have to get out of that introvert a little bit every once in a while and speak up.
Raise my voice.
So I just want to thank you very much for challenging yourself and then being willing to try to seek a position and further expose people to your education and your expertise to help others reach what you've been able to accomplish in your life. So I just want to thank you very much.
I appreciate it. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
I admire you greatly. So
thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Holmes-Sutton, thank you for coming on the program. Please look at the camera and tell folks why they should go to the voting booth and flip that coin and vote for you. And your point of contact, because it's a 50-50, right? It's 50-50. You're in a position right now. It's not like there's a slew of you. There's only one you got to beat now. If you beat the rest, you should be able to beat the one, right? And
I appreciate you so much this opportunity. You can learn more about me at ToniaHolmesSutton.org, ToniaHolmessutton.org. You will learn there about my priorities, specifically around equity access, around health, both for students and for faculty, as well as communication, specifically that communication amongst the different tiers and levels of education in the state. I am ready to serve and leverage my expertise and my experience and my education. As I mentioned, not only as a former board member with Nevada State Board of Education, but also as the chair of the Charter School Authority Board, as a member of the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards and the West Ed Board of Directors, and the experience that I have serving on countless committees, utilizing that leverage and that experience to be able to work and collaborate with the collective of my colleagues that currently sit on the board and those that are to join the board. I greatly appreciate you and hope that I am able to earn your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Holmes-Sutton.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, sir.
Ooh, what a grip you got there.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Jonas, and welcome back. Folks, that's Dr. Tonia Holmes-Sutton, Nevada System of Higher Education, Board of Regents, District 4. That's a mouthful all by itself. Dr. Holmes-Sutton has been endorsed by the Joint Veterans, and we would appreciate all veterans to reach out to anybody that they know in District 4 and tell them to go to that voting booth and cast a vote for Dr. Holmes-Sutton, because we believe that she's going to be a true champion on the Board of Regents, and she's going to go far, folks. You just wait and see. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.